Call this meeting of the library board to order March 16th, 2026 at 7:30. I see we don't have anybody in the public there, but correct me if I'm wrong. Okay,
Nobody.
so, oh, go ahead.
I have to start the meeting live here. Set to live.
Ah.
Okay. Set to live. Now I have to go to. All right. So now, yes, there's no public. You are right.
Okay, and it doesn't appear we'll have quorum to pass the minutes, so probably need to move those on to the next time we're together, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or circle back to it. And the staff introduction, he will not be here, so we'll go now to the library director's report.
Okay, I'm figuring out why this isn't letting me go to where I need to go. Just a second. I need to figure out why I can't do what I need to do in here. Aha, I got it. Okay, so I just need to note that we can't do the motion. You might have to bear with me as I learn this system a little bit.
I would hope a library will be a place of grace when it comes to learning.
Do I put deferred? How do I do that? Or, okay. Move to April. Okay, so that is done. And now I have to move back to my, oh my gosh. I need to learn to navigate this thing. Okay, so director's report. I will start with the budget. And I needed to open all these and I did not, so it's going to be just a brief minute. How do I open it? Okay, so budget report is first, and as you can all see, we are sitting really well with the budget, with the total being, right now, this time of year is 66%, if I remember correctly from normal. And we are sitting in the total library budget line at under that, just under that. And as usual, as I say every month, we have a few lines where we front load, like our databases and other things. And we are really good in our like contractual service areas and our just our general spending in our commodities lines. So all of our supplies and books, all those lines are in good shape. And in fact, we can probably, Andrew is balancing learning to use the Amazon to spend, and it's a little bit different from Baker and Taylor, where he used to buy these bulk books. Now he gets to buy on the fly, which is definitely interesting. And he's doing really well with that. So overall, we're sitting really well. And again, does anyone have any questions?
I do not.
For me. So if no questions, I'll move on to my director's report. I can get it to move. Okay. So our state accreditation, application was submitted in February, and that application is done every 3 years. As part of our funding from the state, we have to submit accreditation paperwork, fill out some forms, and do some fun activities like making sure we're complying with ADA compliance and other different areas in the library. The strategic plan was one thing. The strategic plan lapsed as of FY25, and I had hoped that that would be something we would start tackling in the fall. And between just lots of things happening, it just didn't happen. And so when we went to do the report, that's one area that I could not submit. And in order to do that, and talking to the person who oversees the accreditation processes, he agreed to, which a lot of people do this. In fact, Iowa City was in the same boat with us. He agreed to give us an extension to the end of March to have the plan submitted. And in talking with our consultant, Becky, we decided to do just a one-year plan with the focus being on doing an assessment this year, a more broad community assessment. And what I did then was also take within the plan, which you'll see later in the report, I took a lot of the staff goals and I kind of meshed them into like areas and with our values. And then I created a new plan based on 5 very broad goals with some strategies on how we would achieve those in over the next course of the next year. With the thought being that in FY26, the end of FY26, we would begin the work on a plan that will take us through the next 3 to 5 years. So that plan is with us tonight, and hopefully, perhaps we will have a chance to vote on that plan, and I will be able to submit it to the state here shortly. We did just complete a renovation of the programming office, and I just wanted to give kudos to our staff. Mostly Kayla and Corey did a lot of the work on measuring and figuring out what they needed, and then we had custom-built cabinets. They did a lot of work to find the group that we used to get those cabinets from in order to get the depth we needed and not cost an arm and a leg through like some of the local like Lowe's or things. They just didn't have what they needed to make it work for storage. So they have this great new program preparation area, our 3D printers in there. They've got the costumes all stored in there. So it really set them up for more success and being able to have a space where they can meet and collaborate and work. So we're excited about that. The contribution drive has been going well. The Friends donations to date, as of last week, were just over $1,000. That's actually up a few hundred since then because I've received a couple more donations. The endowment is typically gets less, and it has not been. I haven't seen a lot coming in. We do have $200 now. As of the writing of this, it was $100, but we did get another endowment donation this week. And then with personnel, I was just going to talk a little bit about. I just recently did a presentation for Bettendorf Public Library, and while I was there, they were talking about some skill building training that they do at their library on a really regular basis. They do have a bit of a larger staff than us, but we thought it would be fun to do what they do is actually have people come in and do training a couple times a month with their team. While I don't think we have capacity or time to do that, we decided to start doing monthly tips for improved services particularly around our electronic resources. So Kelly will be sending out different tips every month about our resources and what's available in them, just to keep people familiar with what we have to offer. And then hopefully that will encourage them to promote those more with our patrons so that they are well used. And we spend a lot of money on them, so we want to make sure they're being used and that people know they're there. They are also wonderful. Some of them are really wonderful for staff, for training in-house too. So hopefully we'll see some more use of those. And then as I was talking about that, Andrew was talking about perhaps that would be something that he might also do with how searches can work in a collection to find things better for patrons and other collection updates that he has going on. So the programming is pretty visible, right? That's something that people see. It's happening out in the community where some of these back of the room things that are happening aren't as visible. So it'll be kind of cool to have those more out there for all the staff from full-time and part-time. And then just reporting that the full-time staff is participating in an optional training program called Being With It. That is a follow-up from some training we did last year with Dr. Sherry Watt from the University of Iowa and her team. So we'll be meeting for 4 sessions in March through May. The first one was online, and the rest of them, I believe, will be in person. The training series is around building on, like I said, on that previous training that we had, which was just about the theory of being and being grounded in talking when we're talking with people, self-awareness, humility, and all those different wonderful complexities about our lives, and then focusing on navigating difficult conversations, which is really very timely for all of us in the world we live in today and with the work we're doing with the public as well. So we're excited to be part of their study and their work that they're doing. And then just a legislative update, 5 of the bills did not make it through the first funnel. So all the bills I kind of talked about last month are all kind of, or in January, kind of met their end for this year. We did have 2, one they're calling an omnibus bill, which is 2622 in the House that passed out of committee. It moves control of libraries from boards, advisory board, or to advisory boards, which we already are. So it doesn't really impact us, but it will impact other libraries. And particularly, I would have a lot of concerns about some of our smaller libraries and what that could mean for them if those boards aren't there to kind of act as representatives of their communities and help people understand and advocate for them. And also, they are a layer of protection for us as far as damages for censorship and those types of things. They help protect us from that and with our policies. So in our case, we have a wonderful setup and we have this great board, and then we also have a wonderful city that supports us, so we're in good shape. The other things it does is limit minors' access to certain materials. In fact, we had talked about this last year. I think I remember telling you guys at one point that we had discussed what that could mean, and what that could mean is that we close our doors to kids unless they're with an adult to come into the building. That is not a threat. It's a very serious possibility, particularly in our smaller libraries where they just don't have the space to separate out, into different areas of the library. Kids have to pass by our adult collection to get to our juvenile collection. So then what do? They're automatically exposed. Brittany, oh my gosh, I blanked on her last name, but the director of the Burlington Public Library has said that the same thing, and she told her legislator the same thing. If this were to pass, that would be something we would have to consider, would be that minors would not have access to the library without an adult present, which would mean a lot of kids just wouldn't be able to come in, right? Because we have kids who don't have an adult that's able to bring them because they work or for other reasons out of their control. And then it also hinges library funding around compliance to these things. So I believe, and others believe, that it does expose us to criminal charges or civil liabilities around harmful to minors. That definition, they would argue that that's not the case, but we believe that it could be, that it could open us to some liabilities. The other bill that is out there is the House File 2324. It discontinues public school partnerships, public library and school partnerships, which means that the kids that we have, the 14,000 library cards in our district would all go away. The kids would not have those library cards available to them to use the program, so many kids wouldn't have a library card at all. At our library, a kiddo can get a library card when they come in, without a parent's permission after they're, once they can give us their information. But for other libraries, it might be 16 or 18 before that parental permission is not a thing. So it could affect libraries in that way. It also prohibits bookmobiles, which would include our bike, any kind of mobile unit, from going on school property. So those services would be null and void. This particularly would impact Polk County and Johnson County because we are the ones who have those, although there are multiple bookmobiles throughout the state now. Waverly has a brand new bookmobile. Marion has a brand new bookmobile. I believe that Bettendorf is just getting theirs up and running. So it would impact several cities as far as being able to serve their schools. So it's really unfortunate. I did provide a link about some coverage on these bills that just came out with some interviews from both sides, which I thought was really interesting. And then on the federal level, what I will say about those 2 bills is that the end of the funnel is this week. Right now, those bills are not on any schedule. And from what we understand, there isn't a lot of interest in passing them from most people in the legislation. There are a few who would push it really hard. Right now, we're not seeing it. And unless they just surprise us with it in the next couple of days, it's hopefully not going to be a thing, and we'll pass through another year without it. On the federal level, there is a pretty harmful bill out there called 7661, which is called Stop the Sexualization of Children Act. It amends these really old, great education acts from the 1960s to prohibit federal funds from being used to develop, implement, facilitate, host, or promote programs or materials for minors that would include what the bill defines as sexually oriented. So it's their definition of that. It's really interesting that popped up. Again, I don't think it will get legs, but we are surprised every day. So who knows what will happen with it. Does anyone have any questions about those different things? No. I'm not hearing from Kara, so I'm going to keep plowing along, and hopefully we'll see her or we won't. On the profession, you know what? She might have told me she wasn't going to be here tonight, you guys, come to think of it. So we might be, I think she said she was out of the state. So we might be just sending that along to the state and then having you guys approve it post-send. Moving forward, I did attend the Night Library Leaders and Media Forum Conference last month in February in Miami. I will tell you, that is one of my very favorite conferences. It's a small, very intimate conference with about 60 library leaders, library directors and foundation directors in libraries across the country. Most of them, a majority of them are urban libraries, so I get to represent the small libraries and the rural libraries. This year, we were able to invite or ask for a colleague to be invited, so I did put in for my colleague Kathleen Sepatalo from Ohio to be invited, and she was invited, which was lovely. So we had 2 small libraries there, and I think it's really just a wonderful opportunity for us to share experiences with them, with our larger counterparts, and for them to share with us, and to see that there are a lot of likenesses and also areas where we differ. What we find, Kathy said too, a lot of the things we were saying during the meeting that we had a small group meetings, they were listening and they were writing a lot of notes and asking a lot of questions about the things we do. But part of that is because in small libraries, we're able to be really nimble. Where in big libraries, there's a lot of red tape sometimes with some of the work they do. So it was kind of cool to see that. The fun part this year was that we were invited to participate in the media conference as well, which was about 12. Well, I know last year at least there were 1,200 journalists there. I don't know for sure how many this year. It was a lot. They have huge group of people there. So they overlapped them. And in the mornings, we spent time with journalists. In the afternoon, we were in the library meetings. So we got to see some really interesting and fascinating journalists talking about their work. And what I've heard over and over, a couple things. One thing was urgency. That was a term that was used again and again in both rooms. Urgency is in our work. The other thing that I found really fascinating was just the amount of overlap there is with the challenges. And something I said during the library part, during our takeaways at the end, was that over and over again, I felt with the talks they're having and the challenges they're facing, that libraries are the answer. In a lot of cases, we can support their work and help them if we find ways to work together and forge that. So I think that could be a really interesting thing going forward. I will say that my friend John Bracken, who is one of the people who leads the Night Library Leaders Conference, he's from the Digital Public Library of America, and he and I did try to he put forth and asked me to ride along with him a proposal for Press Forward to get some grant money to do some work with journalists in North Liberty. We did not get past the letter of inquiry, so we didn't get to do it. But I think there's opportunities there, and I think we'll see more of them coming forward as we lose our smaller papers and journalists are looking for outlets and places to work. So I think there's going to be some good partnership possibilities in the future. And then the Building Together Conference, I just wanted to update you guys, is May 4th through 7th in Seattle. This was a conference that was initially, Nick Shimon and I were both sent an email invitation for one of us to go. And I had deferred to Nick. I thought that it would be great for him to attend. And then he is doing the Cortico grant with the AI and the teens. That meeting that was supposed to happen in January got canceled. And so that grant, that got rescheduled for the same day that we are to present in Seattle. So he can't be in Cambridge and Seattle. So I will be stepping in to go to Seattle to present with, it's with Shemichael Hallman, who's with the Urban Libraries Council. And if any of you are going to the Coralville training in April, he will be the keynote in the morning. He's wonderful. And then IREX, which is the International Research Exchange, a representative from there, and the director of the Walmart Foundation, who is a fascinating person who Nick and I have both met in a couple of meetings. So it should be a really amazing conference. I'm very excited. It would not be something that we would probably be able to attend. IREX is paying our way to go, and they are paying for me to attend the entire conference, which I would not have done had they not been generous enough and able to do that. That's quite expensive. It is a conference of foundations, and so it's a big group of people in the communities who support this kind of work. So it's a good opportunity for us to be in front of them. And in the afternoon, both days, there are 10 workshops happening. They're repeated both days, and you get to choose one for each day. And it was really, really hard to pick because they are all phenomenal. I am so excited to sit in those and hear, and some of the leaders that are in that room, I know from other spaces, and so I'm super stoked to see how this goes. It'll probably be the only time we have the opportunity to be there. So I know Nick is bummed, and I feel really bad. We try to figure out a way for him to be both places, but we haven't invented that yet. And that is all I have for my presentation or my report. And then just if you guys have any questions about any of the public service or any of the staff reports, I am happy to answer those.
I didn't have any questions per se. I just wanted to, speak directly to the continual legislation being proposed that would impact libraries across Iowa. They're not minor adjustments. They're trying to fundamentally change how libraries operate and how information is accessed and how libraries are governed. Libraries exist so that everybody in the community has access to knowledge and ideas and information. And it's central to, literacy and education and a democracy. And so anytime we see policies that access restrictions to materials, it's concerning, to put it mildly. But, I think, to be honest, there's a lot at stake. You know this, but libraries are not simply buildings. You're not simply places that house books. Growing up, libraries were sincerely my safe place I went to as a child, and they support people's ability to read and learn to think freely. And I think as trustees, as community members, we have a responsibility to ensure our community understands, our legislator understands, everybody understands what these proposals means and how they really could impact access to information and education opportunities. So, because when we're talking about these impacts, what we're really talking about is who has access to knowledge, who has access to opportunities, because the work you're doing is remarkable. And one of the most powerful things that you already do such a good job of is making that visible. And I love that you're going to bring the behind the scenes stuff as more visible. That way people know and see the services and the programming and the things that we all rely on. And so I think my only question is, what should I do individually? What should we do collectively to ensure the community and the legislators really understand the real impacts and the role it plays. How could these impact our libraries and the role they play in our communities? I mean, I talk to legislators, I educate briefings, but yes, I'm just curious what else we can.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's
supports.
the ticket, is just being able to contact your legislators using the different mechanisms, whether it's 5 calls or whether it's simply just connecting with each one of them by email or making a phone call and voicing your opinion, and going on to the legislative pages and tracking the legislation, and then making comments when they have their committee meetings.
Right.
Even though the majority of those comments were in favor of libraries and not favoring these bills, and they still pass them out of committee. I think having the voice there and showing the history that people are vocalizing that they are against those bills is really vital. And again, I do think some of these bills, at least from the talk that I've heard from colleagues in other parts of the state, even in some of the more rural or more conservative areas, most of their legislators are not interested in passing these bills. So if they pass, it's going to be, I don't know what it'll look like unless it's just done kind of at the last minute and as a measure. And we've seen it. There's some democratic processes that are just not happening even at the state capitol, and that's something I feel okay to say because it's being said by other legislators. They're not being invited to the table when these bills are going through committee.
Right.
It is concerning, and I think the best thing we can do is to keep vocalizing it and asking our friends to vocalize it, and our colleagues and our neighbors to speak out for it.
Well, thank you for what you and the staff do.
Yeah. All right.
Well, should we move to policy review, the mission statement? Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm just going to pull up. I'm still navigating this stuff. So the mission statement is new. So really, it's just again, we'll have to bring it back in April. But it is just newly reworked this last year. So, and you guys passed it already. So I'm not sure. We'll just bring it back in April, but I don't think there'll be a lot to do with it. So the big one is really the next one, which is, I have the strategic plan just for you guys to review, the report from the first one. And that's just for review. I don't think that there's anything that has any action that needs to take place. That was just more if anyone had questions based on the report. And what I did was have all the staff go through and update, and then I went through and updated. And some of them talked about some of the goals that either were, I always think of a plan as fluid. And I told all of them that the plan, some things may not have gotten done. Some things were generated. This plan was written when there were a couple different staff people in place. A new staff came in and they didn't have the same interest in some of the goals or thought that they should be done in a different way. So we've already seen some changes, and you can see some of the notes that say that they adopted something different or chose a different path. We have a lot of that plan was accomplished, and I was really pleased as I read through their notes. And we've been tracking it through the last 3 years, but just seeing this final kind of report was kind of great to see all the things that did happen and were accomplished from that. So if anyone has any questions about any of that report, I am happy to address those. And otherwise,
again, it's amazing what you'll accomplish.
Thank you. Yeah, they do. That staff does a lot. For sure. And so then the next thing would be that other strategic report, or the strategic plan that I put forth for you guys here. And again, what I think we'll do is I'll submit it to the state. I don't believe there's any requirement by the state that it has to be passed by the board in order to be submitted. But I would like to have that go through the board channels, so we can do that in April. And I'll make note of that on the agenda that we are. That is not the right place. sometime this will be really easy for me. There we go. Okay. So I will make notes on both of those things, that those will be coming back to us in April for review and approval. Once I figure out where it is that I have to do it. I think I have to backtrack back out of it and go back in order to figure out where I am. Oh my gosh. Nope. This is where I was worried about bumbling this stuff.
6 months from now, I'd be like, remember that first meeting?
I just
As
do
you
not, right.
zip through everything.
I was telling Derek beforehand that this is just not intuitive to me at all. How you go about doing these things. I just did it with the other one, you guys. No. Oh my goodness. All right, seriously. Oh, I know. I have to do this again. Okay. No, I don't have to do that. There we go. I think this is going to get me where I need to go. Or I'm lying. It's just really slow now. There we go. I did it.
Yay! Cheers all around.
Okay, and I'm going to copy this and paste it in the next one. Thanks for your patience while I'm figuring this out, getting back to where I need to go again. Okay, come on. All right. Okay, so that piece is done.
Great. I think all we have left is if there's new business,
I don't have any.
and I'm guessing no new business. And then from there is adjournment, which I cannot take a motion because we cannot accept motions. So I guess we're here all night. Oh, we're adjourned by acclamation at 8:00. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on Eastern time, 7:04 p.m.
All right.
All right.
Next
Thank you.
meeting,
Set the
April
current
20th.
time and end live.
Thank you.